because I did have cancer. I had a melanoma, which was stage 0, and I'm pretty sure you made fun of me for it.
Checks out. I believe what I said is that the good news here is that you can add cancer survivor to your LinkedIn page. And every time you introduce so really we should be doing this podcast as Dr. Matt, cancer survivor. Welcome back, guys. You made it past the Master of Disguise, which means you are safe. You are in safe land. This is the second episode, but the first on our actual 100 movie list countdown. If you didn't watch last week, basically what it is Matt and I here, my good buddy, Dr. Matt. We were best friends pretty much since 7th grade. We bonded on movies early on. We pretty much was just me introducing Matt into movies that I couldn't believe he hasn't seen. We stayed that way all the way through high school. And then eventually Matt went off to med school. I went off to make movies, and we grew apart a little bit.
So while I was away, I kind of missed uh, every movie that came out when I was in like college and then medical school and then so it's like 11 years worth of movies that I missed. John made a list of things that I missed during that time. It kind of expanded into just all the stuff I haven't seen that he brings up all the time and makes fun of me for not having seen. So that's where this movie list came from. It's 100 movies I have not seen that we'll be watching together.
So we're going to be breaking down every week a new movie that's on this list, spanning from movies that came out this year to movies that came out in the 1940s. So we're really getting a full film school here for Matt when he was busy doing things like med school, wasting his time there. So this is number one. It's an interesting one. Just to kind of catch you up on why I chose this one. I think it's interesting because it's going to bring, a nice balance of humor, drama, and of course, the medical side of it. The movie is 50-50, directed by Jonathan Levine, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Seth Rogen. It's a great cast. So I chose the movie for this list because obviously Matt's a doctor. I was curious of his medical side of it. But honestly, for me, you guys will learn this through this process. I have a list of scenes specifically that when I watch that scene, it makes me cry every time. And spoiler alert, one of those scenes is in this movie. But really, I wanted to get Matt's POV on the accuracy of the movie, his thoughts behind it. So, Matt, just a quick check-in. What were your kind of initial thoughts? What did you know about it? What were you expecting? What caught you off guard?
Yeah. So you kind of told me ahead of time this was a movie about somebody who had been diagnosed with cancer and kind of how that all kind of explodes somebody's life. Um, and I guess what kind of caught me off guard about this movie was that it's one of the better movies maybe the best I've ever seen eh, as far as displaying what impact social determinants of health have on a person's life. So that term, social determinants of health, just refers to um, the things in your life that aren't strictly speaking health related that impact how well you do in a situation like being diagnosed with cancer. So, do you have a tight knit family? Do you have a church group? Are you financially sound? Are you medically literate? All this kind of stuff um, plays into how well you will actually thrive and make it through something like a cancer diagnosis. So, if you have no family, if you have no money, if you don't have a place to live, then this is a totally different story than somebody who has those things. I think this movie illustrated that astonishingly well. I think one of the choices that they made, um, as far as the plot goes, that really boosted that is that the main character, Adam, is not able to drive. So he's completely dependent on everyone else in his life to get him to the most basic, like, checkup appointments
Yeah.
just to, not just the chemotherapy and the surgery, but, like, just his, like, "Hey, I need to go to talk about what the next thing I need to do." Like,
Yeah.
he needs somebody to drive him every single time.
Yeah.
and you kind of see that weigh on him over time, and people flake on him,
Yeah.
and certain people rise to the occasion. That is so true to life. Having seen this played out as a physician, like they they blew it out of the water when they made
Yeah.
this movie, as
Well,
far
let's
as far
catch
as that
everybody up.
aspect goes.
If they haven't seen it yet, it's not the most tentpole movie that everybody's seen. Again, I think it's a special movie to me. It's definitely rewatchable. So if you haven't seen it, let me just give you a quick, 10,000-foot view overview. Just if you haven't seen it, if you're gonna watch it, hit pause right now. Go download it, watch it. It's a great movie, worth a watch. And then come back and join in the conversation with us. So 50/50 is about Adam. He's a 27-year-old guy, lives a quiet, responsible life. Matt talked about, he doesn't drive. So he's obviously a little fearful, a little extra cautious. And then really life is turned upside down. He gets this diagnosis of cancer. It's a rare spinal tumor. And he's given basically a 50/50 chance of survival. So he kind of has to break this to different people in his life, his best friend, his girlfriend, and his mom, his parents, and nobody really knows how to carry that with him. And so first, he breaks it to his friend Kyle, played by Seth Rogen. Hilarious scene, but he kind of deals with it by cracking jokes and brings him around, tries to help him hook up with chicks, things like that. It basically just Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character Adam is just going through life trying to figure out how to find his footing. So through chemo, through anxiety, denial, and these little moments, Adam's world kind of starts to narrow to the people who stay, and then you kind of learn the people who don't stick around. So the movie builds up to this surgery. He's in the time, throughout this time working with a young therapist who's also trying to kind of find her footing, played by Anna Kendrick. It's a great role. And the movie's building up to this basically final surgery where it's just this coin toss of, is he going to come out of it, having had the tumor successfully removed, or basically it could be the end of his life. So it's basically just a movie like Matt was kind of hitting on. That's really things like cancer are really coming down to the people in your life, how to get through those hard times, and about the relationships of kind of who's alongside you in those moments. So yeah, man, you're talking a lot about the relationships, the support systems. Obviously he's relying on people with the driving. Which character kind of stuck in your mind the most as either most interesting or most realistic, or
Right. I think definitely the most interesting is Kyle, and Kyle is his best friend. Um, I mean, these people are exactly like us, just like cranked up to 11, you know?
Yep.
Like their friendship is very similar to how ours has worked. Where you have one person who's just kind of fly by the seat of the pants, you know. Like when you watch them on screen, they don't look like friends.
Right.
Like all they do, all they do is argue.
Which honestly is a little realistic,
Right. I mean, I feel like there's probably a lot of groups of friends out there who are like that. Like you couldn't tell they're friends because they like everything they say to each other is just like cutting each other down, and like, you
Right.
know, it's all
Yeah.
very harsh. But
Right.
but like there's a scene in the movie where Seth Rogen's character Kyle, uh he picks up Adam from his house, and he's like, "We're 2 minutes late. We gotta go." And he's like, "Oh man, then you're really gonna be mad at me when I tell you we're stopping for coffee." I'm just like, I think that exact thing has happened to us.
Yeah,
So
their dynamic was definitely something that reminded me of us, in the sense of I think you tend to be a little bit more of the, calculated and careful type, and I'm a little bit more of a, let's just run through life and a brick wall and kind of pick up the pieces as we go. Even the scene, where um, Adam breaks the news to Kyle. Uh, and Kyle sort of starts to hyperventilate a little bit and freak out until he figures out that, the odds are 50/50.
Said 50/50, but that's like the internet, so
It's not that bad. Which
right,
obviously, if you're dealing life or death, 50/50 is not good. That's very, very
right,
bad. But for
right.
Kyle, they're like, whew, That's not bad. If you were,
That's better than I thought. Yeah.
because if you were in Vegas, you'd be the best game. You'd be the game with the best odds. So yeah, I mean, you got to appreciate the duality of that. You and I are obviously, we have yin and yang in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So just I can appreciate that of sometimes when people, even we've talked about with our friendship, uh, it's hard to figure out exactly the formula that makes us friends because none of it on paper makes a ton of sense. But
That's
for
fair.
some reason, it just works. It was so different in so many ways. But yeah, I mean, I think it kind of just works.
Right.
So you kind of hit it on the beginning. Your initial take on the first watch. From the rewatch, a couple of things I noticed. I've seen this movie probably 4 or 5 times. I've seen certain scenes, far more than that. Couple things I noticed from the rewatch, besides just the emotions always there, there's little mini jokes that to me are really good. Just the little notes of picking out Adam's quirks. The At the beginning he's jogging and he's on this basically empty street. It's probably really early in the morning, and he comes to the crosswalk with like the stop, sign, and he's just kind of jogging in place, and like a runner runs past him. It's a complete there's not a car anywhere. And he's just basically jogging in place until he sees that sign that kind of gives him the go ahead. Just little things like that, talking about how um, he didn't want to drive because it's like the fourth most likely chance of dying in America. And then ironically, cancer is like number two. So he's
Right.
sort of in his old time of trying to avoid risk, he kind of runs into it
He
anyway.
winds up right in it anyway. Yeah.
Soundtrack is just incredible. I think that was sort of a staple of those, 2010 indie movies. Radiohead, Roy Orbison, Pearl Jam to finish it out. Just chef's kiss.
Honestly, I'm embarrassed to say this. I did not notice the soundtrack at all. I was so focused
Yeah,
on the story and the plot and the characters. I
yeah.
I think the characters were done so well, but I didn't notice the soundtrack. So I'm
Well,
glad
it
you
was
did.
like it was a time that before Spotify was around. Is like none of that stuff really existed. Just find new music, you had to go on MySpace. And so we sort of relied on these type movies to tell us what music to listen to. It was like Garden State with Zach Braff was another one that really, released the soundtrack, and that I just ate up and found, a bunch of artists that I probably wouldn't have otherwise found. A lot of them were, before my time. So always appreciate that. And then, another big thing that hit me is it's just criminal that Joseph Gordon-Levitt has not had a bigger career. He is just so fantastic. He's all over this list, so he's going to be on here at least 3 or 4 times. And yeah, it's incredible to me. I feel like he should be a leading man. He should be a leading man in Hollywood. And I don't know if it's by choice or maybe as a bad manager or whatever it is, was picking the wrong roles. But I don't know. I just don't feel like we see him enough for how fantastic of an actor that he is.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I guess what Inception, probably the
Yeah.
biggest thing he did.
Angels in the
Oh, so
outfield.
it's great.
No, you know,
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
that
Yeah.
was a good role. Maybe I should put that on the movie, but you've obviously seen it.
I've seen Angels in the Outfield. Back to the point about the little, like, punchy jokes throughout.
Yeah.
My favorite one in the whole movie was Skeletor.
Dude, I was
The
just
dog.
thinking that.
Like, the fact that his girlfriend, like, she completely missed the mark on it, first of all.
Having a dog helps with the healing process.
What, does he have a medical license?
Okay, forget it.
He
Right.
had no interest in having a dog right after he gets diagnosed
Right.
with 50/50 cancer,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But then when he's like, "Well, I mean, can we take it back?" And she's like, "Well, we can, but then he'll be bullied and destroyed for the next 10 years until he dies."
And then the looks of the dog, that 100%. When I wrote that mini joke, the Skeletor's looks, it was used like 3 or 4 times. and
Yeah.
it's a great recurring joke. The dog
It's a
had so
great
much
show.
character.
Yeah. And it's just like it was such a horrible gift, but it ends up being a good thing. And
Yeah.
that kind of goes back to my, the social determinants of health. Does the dog count? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just that companionship. It kept him going outside and
Right.
taking walks, even though he had the cancer. So
Yeah.
things like that make a big difference.
And Skeletor being a, retired race dog too, I'm sure there's probably a level of empathy there that, like, sometimes when you've gone through something hard or you're going through something hard, the reason I think sports groups are so strong is because you you can't know what it's like to go through it unless you've gone through it yourself or you're going through it yourself, right? So Skeletor being sort of a, discarded dog that's sort of like at the end of his life, and then of course the two guys that he was having chemo with, being some of the actual only people in his life in this time that cared for him and actually understood him.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say if we can get into like our favorite moments of the movie,
yeah,
for me, that moment when he meets those two guys, his first time getting chemo, he's sitting next to these guys who have been doing it for a long time. And so the guy in the middle offers him a macaroon. Would you
yeah,
like a macaroon? And
yeah.
he says, no, thanks. And he says, they're weed macaroons. And he's so he eats one, and he goes, "Are they how strong are they?" And the guy in the middle goes, "Strong."
Steve wrong.
And he eats another one. And the fact that he wasn't gonna tell him that they were
Right,
weed
right,
macaroons
right.
before he offered it to him is one of the funniest parts of the whole movie.
Yeah,
But, like, on as far as, like, kinda digging into that specific scene a little bit more,
yeah,
he was the only one who was depressed. Adam was the only one who was depressed.
yep,
The guys who had already come to terms with it,
mm,
they were happy.
yep,
They were sitting there getting chemo, and they were
yeah,
joking around, eating
right,
their macaroons, and they were
right.
happy.
I
And
love I love the scene after where he's walking through the hallway, right? Obviously just completely stoned out of his mind, laughing at, like, the the pictures, what do they call it? Like the murals on the wall.
the murals,
And
yeah.
right, and then it's just like, I was talking to my wife, I was like, that could be good, but that also could be dangerous if, like, he gets a bad negative thought and then the trip, not trip, it wasn't tripping, but, like the high could turn bad and turn into anxiety
Mhm,
really quick.
mhm.
And as soon as I said that to my wife, he turns and he sees them rolling a body bag
Right,
through it.
right.
And there's the moment where I'm like, oh man, that's where he's going to get anxious. And he turns and he stares at it. And then he turns around and starts laughing.
Laughing, right.
It's so good.
Fantastic.
That I
Yeah,
love tension moments like that in a movie where you're
right,
certain it's going to go a certain direction and it takes you a completely different direction. And
right,
you feel that for Adam. You feel that as somebody who, in every aspect of his life, feels anxious about everything. And everybody around him is giving him reasons to kind of be anxious, and he's kind of having to kind of be the nice guy. To it's almost like he's getting cancer, and he's having to kind of take care of other people in his life, even though he's the one with cancer and he's having to take
mhm,
care of
mhm,
others. He's trying to have to hold them up. He's just not, he can't be selfish to the point where he can't really take care of himself because everything's got to be fine all the time. Everything's just got to be okay. He's just got to take it, grin and bear it. And
right,
so just to have some moments like that where he can be selfish, where he can be goofy, he can be actually carefree. Yeah, it's pretty nice to see.
right. It's like in that specific moment, there was no thought behind it. It was
Right.
just him in his, like, most basic state. But in speaking of him not really being able to so no one is prepared for a scenario like that.
Right. Right.
If you get diagnosed with cancer, nobody's great at just, "Oh, yeah, I've done this a million times." Like,
Right.
it's always the first time for a
Mm,
family or a
mm,
friend, like, you don't know what to do. And one of the things that they illustrated, I think, really well was that he's trying to deal with the cancer, and his mom is so overbearing. And so he's like, "I can't talk to my mom." because she wants to, move in with me and do all this stuff for me, like, and she's so anxious about it all the time,
Right.
and I can't talk to her. She's way up here, and I can't handle that. And but then toward the end of the movie, he's talking to his mom, and also his therapist, Catherine, who is Anna Kendrick, talks about, like, so your mom's husband has Alzheimer's, which we haven't
Mm.
mentioned yet, but
Right.
his dad has Alzheimer's.
Right.
So she can't talk to him, and you won't talk to her because you think she's overbearing. So now she's
Right.
isolated.
Yeah.
So she's having to deal with her son having cancer, and there's nobody she can talk to.
Right.
And then you're over here, and you can't talk to her because she's so overbearing. And like, it really illustrates that ripple effect
Mm.
of I'm not an island. I'm connected to 1,000
Right.
other people,
Right. Right.
and when something like this happens to me,
It
it
affects
affects
them.
them, and the
Absolutely.
closer they are, the bigger the ripple.
Right. Right. And just
Um,
like you don't know how to deal with it, they don't know how to deal with it too. They're left reeling as
exactly,
well. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. One of my
exactly.
favorite moments in the movie was when he breaks the news to his mom, and she's just spiraling. And so she breaks down crying. And they're having dinner in his house, and she runs out of the dining room into the kitchen. She just starts making tea, and he goes, "Mom, it's okay, Mom." And she goes, "I'm gonna make you some green tea. I read online that it cuts down the chances of cancer by 15%." He goes, "Well, I already have cancer, so."
So yeah,
Which is, I think,
yeah,
such a human response, right? Of like, especially for
exactly.
somebody like his mom, like she's such a control freak and she's so like, she's got to do something. She has to do something. So with something like cancer hits and a personality like that, and somebody like that who's super type A, get it done, takes care of people by, she shows love by work and by acts of
Hmm.
service. Nothing
Hmm.
she could do. There's nothing she can do. She can't fix it. There's no amount of green tea on earth that's going to fix, her son. And so
Right.
that even though it's a funny moment because the irony of it, I think it's very human, it's very realistic, and it's pretty sad.
It's, on that same topic, like the scene um where Adam gets the news that he has a tumor in his spine.
Yeah,
He says, that, "How could that be?
yeah.
I don't smoke. I don't drink. I recycle."
So sorry, I just don't know what
It's a malignant tumor.
a tumor?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense though. I mean, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I recycle.
It's
That's a
it's
great
it's
line.
almost like this kind of magical thinking that, like, I
Yeah.
live such a clean life. I
Right.
do good stuff.
Right.
That should protect me from stuff like this. And the fact that he added in "I recycle" is one of the most beautiful lines in the movie to me, because it's like, that's so true to human nature. You figure,
Uh,
like, I'm doing all the right things.
yeah.
I'm not the guy who gets cancer in my spine,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It reminded me of this moment. So Shannon and I get tally tattoos here every year of marriage, right? So we add to it every year. And the first we did it on the 5-year anniversary. And the first 5 we did at the same time. The guy who did them was in Hawaii, random tattoo. We just did it on a whim. And he's talking to us about marriage. He looks like this huge, like just biker gang guy, and he's telling us that it's really cool. You guys are doing that. You should travel more. My wife and I was a pilot for 20 years. And basically, I saved up like 1,000,000 miles. And our plan was I was going to retire at 55 and she was going to retire at 55. And we were going to travel the world. And so I was a year older than her. So I retired early, started doing tattoos. He goes, a week before her 55th birthday, she had a brain aneurysm. She died. And she ran marathons and she was vegan and she was like the healthiest eater. And we had saved up. We didn't travel for all that time pretty much because we were saving up these miles because that was the plan. The plan was to save 1,000,000 miles and we were going to see the whole world. And then, a year before or a week before her birthday, she drops dead. So it's those moments like there's nothing you can do to prevent it sometimes, and there's nothing you can do to prepare for it. So you gotta you got to live your life. Um, how do you think? How do you think we would respond in a situation like this as friends?
Hmm. Well, uh, I know how we would handle it if it wasn't that severe.
Mm,
Yeah, if the chances were more like 99.999 to 0
right,
or whatever to point 0.000001
right.
because I did have cancer. I had a melanoma, which was stage 0, and they got the whole thing. So it's like it never happened essentially. And I'm pretty sure you made fun of me for it.
Checks out.
Because it was like, so you have cancer, but you're completely cured instantly. So,
I believe what I said is
uh,
that the good news here is that you can add cancer survivor to your LinkedIn page and your business card, and every time you introduce so really we should be doing this podcast as Dr. Matt, cancer survivor.
right, which I have not done. All right. It was
Well,
stage 0.
you're missing out. Cancer's cancer. So
Eh, I mean, technically, I did survive. It was in my
yeah,
body. I
yeah.
dodged it.
It,
But
and it's an interesting kind of note about the movie. Will Reiser, the guy who wrote the screenplay, actually had cancer, and he was friends with Seth Rogen. And Seth Rogen was one of the first people he called when he told him. And what I heard was the story was that when he called him, Seth Rogen was on the toilet and didn't know how to respond. So he's like, "Hang on," and he thought he put it on mute, and he like put it down, but he didn't put it on mute. And he could just hear him freaking out in the background, and he hears like the toilet paper rolling, and he hears the toilet flush, and then he goes, "Okay, all right, I'm back." And Will Reiser was cracking up already at that time because he just told him he had cancer and he had to finish taking a crap, which is a pretty funny way. And I feel like honestly would probably be something that would happen with us. But yeah, the screenplay was sort of I guess a therapeutic type way of
mm,
he was writing it as he was going through the process, so it's somewhat autobiographical. Seth Rogen is basically plays himself,
mhm.
through that whole process. And a few of the things like the scene at the end where he's putting the stuff on the scar.
I'm gonna be really proud of you, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's just go. Let's just do this. Oh, I'm doing it. Oh, I'm inside of you.
Wait. Is that your finger?
What?
Is that your finger?
No.
There's Q-tips.
I know. I got one.
That was your finger.
It wasn't my. What is it bad if it was?
Did you wash your hands?
That is based on something that actually happened. So, a lot of the stuff
Right.
that actually happened throughout the movie, is based on real life. And I think their friendship is special too, because it's, Kyle doesn't seem like the typical empathetic, we're going to cry together. We're going to, I'm going to take care of you, all these things. He does take care of him in his own way, but he's also really selfish in a lot of ways. But I think the scene in the end when he goes to Kyle's house and he's basically taking care of Kyle, and this is literally like the night before his big surgery. This could be his last night on Earth, and he's
Right.
basically taking care of Kyle's freaking drunk passing out, and he goes to his bathroom and he sees a Getting Through Cancer Together support book that's
Mhm.
all highlighted up and
Highlighted
earmarked
and dog-eared. Yeah. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
So a moment just like that where you sometimes you don't realize people how much they care about you and appreciate you, and because they don't know how to show it. And they're too
Right.
they're too much of their own crap going on, or they're too emotionally immature to be able to know. But yeah, I mean, for somebody who's just kind of silly the whole time, I think that was an awesome moment.
It's one of the highlights of the whole film, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And kind of getting back to the high points of the movie, I think one of my other favorite parts was where Adam, right at the end of the movie, he has to drive because Kyle's drunk.
Mm,
He's like, "Hey, this is my last. It's the night before his surgery, same night." He's like, it's my only chance to ever drive a car."
right.
And so he drives and he goes freaking nuts on the road. And he's about to go and crash, and then finally Kyle stops him, and then he tells Kyle to get out of the car. Kyle gets out, And then he just like freaks out. He's screaming and he's yelling and he's, all this stuff. And that moment for him in kind of the 5 stages of grief, for him, that's acceptance,
Yeah.
where he's realizing, I might die tomorrow. There's
Yeah.
a really good chance that I do.
Yeah.
And he accepts it. And I noticed a really interesting detail in the movie where when Kyle drives and picks him up the next morning, or they get in the car the next morning. I guess they're together because he sleeps over at Kyle's house. But
Yep.
when they get in the car the next morning, Adam doesn't buckle his seatbelt.
What a nice detail.
And right, because he is so cautious, he's so careful about everything. He doesn't drive because it's dangerous and it's a very high risk of death. But that day, he does not buckle his seatbelt because he's accepted it. And so
Wow.
it's 50-50. I'm at least 50% chance to die today. He doesn't
Right.
buckle it.
Right. He lets, it's kind of accepting not only that he could die, but he could die on the way to the hospital.
Exactly.
He's not
to me, that
guaranteed
was
any day.
Yeah, to me,
What
that
a-
was one of the most impactful things. And
Yeah.
there's evidence after the fact. Uh, to you, what would you say, like, emotionally was the most impactful part of that movie?
Yeah, I think, definitely the moment where he's going in for surgery. To that point, I'm kind of experiencing the movie like Adam, right? Kind of, laughing, everything's fine. And there is that moment, where obviously he's nervous. And then as soon as the anesthesiologist comes in and kind of starts to, put in the medicine, and he starts asking these questions, and I could feel my heart start to beat faster, right? Because there is this moment of, this is it.
You're doing it now.
If you guys just want to head over to the waiting room, that'd be great.
And how long does it last?
That really depends on the individual.
Right, but how do you know that it's going to last long enough to, I don't wake up in the middle of the surgery, or that you make sure that I'm going to wake up after? Mom?
Sweetie, you're gonna be just fine.
I'm really sorry, but we need to get Adam to the operating room.
Could you just wait a moment, please?
And so, to your point, before that, there was this acceptance. And then beyond that, for the first time to have his healing, he showed fear. He showed, willingness to let his mom take care of him. He reaches for his mom. Vulnerability. He's
Exactly.
vulnerable in that moment of actually being afraid, and lets his mom take care of him, which is all she wants to do. And he's fighting it because everything's fine. Everything's fine all the time. And that's his shell that he puts up.
Right.
And so in that breaking moment of actually being afraid if this is it, he just wants to tell his dad he loves him, even though he doesn't really know what's going on. And he just wants his mom to hold him. And that's a scene that every time I watch it, it makes me cry. Right now, I'm fighting it back a little bit. I don't know if we're there yet as a podcast to see me cry, but it gets me every time.
And in that moment, him and his mom are each other's support system. Which, when you watch how they kind of were their own islands for a while,
Yeah.
but then when everything comes to a head, they're there for each other. It's a brilliant moment.
Yeah.
It's beautiful how they did
So
that.
lesson learned: live your life fearlessly and live it vulnerably. Let people in. Sounds like, Matt, a lot of real emotion, real raw, like some medical stuff. We all had the moment in the movie we watched when we're like, oh yeah, right. What was
Yeah.
your what was your oh yeah, right moment in this movie?
Right. So I think they're really, so just as far as like technically how things go.
Yeah.
Typically the physician who would find a tumor is not your oncologist. So they're your primary care doctor. They're an urgent care doctor. They work in the ER. You come in because I'm having a ton of back pain. I can't breathe, whatever it is, and they do a scan and they find it then. Um, and then they tell you, hey, you have a mass, and we think it might be cancer. We need to go get some biopsies done. And then the biopsy tells you what the cancer is. Now, in this movie, the doctor who walks in starts dictating horrendous bedside manner, by the way. Just starts dictating the patient has a mass in his spine with destruction of the bone material and involvement of the blah, 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 blah. And the patient's like, is there something wrong with me? Because like he doesn't know. And to me, that's a no, yeah, right. Because by the time the patient gets to the oncologist, they know there's a mass. The mass has been biopsied. And so the oncologist typically knows the type of cancer, and the patient knows I have a mass that's probably cancer
Right.
by the time they have that conversation. So to me, that was kind of an oh yeah, right early on. And then my next one was with his therapist, who's not really a therapist.
This is like her third ever.
Right.
His third patient.
He's the third patient. And just a funny side note. So in my line of work, I was trained on how to do certain procedures, and one of them was a vasectomy. And the doctor I worked with who taught me how to do them said, now, if a patient asks you, how many of these have you done? You don't tell them, this is my first one. What you tell them is, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. So when the patient's question goes, is this your first one? Is this your second one? Is this your third one? Like that's our biggest fear.
Yeah.
Like we're in
just trying to
training,
find out
it's
how
like,
many times you've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. To be honest,
that's a
though,
very,
to be honest, if it's between somebody like taking care of my feelings and a vasectomy, I'll take the new therapist over the new vasectomy doctor 10 times out of 10.
that's
So
fair.
on the
That's fair.
yeah, right meter, what, relatively low?
I would say my oh yeah, right meter is not very high on this one. It was very technical. You know, the maybe the therapist didn't have enough supervision. Maybe the doctor wasn't technically the one who would be telling him this based on a scan alone.
Right.
So my oh yeah, right is maybe an 8 max.
Yeah.
On this one.
Is 8 high? I think
no,
I think
8,
8's high.
What I mean is 2. It's a
Okay,
2
got
max.
it. Invert it. Yeah,
So,
I got it. Well, let
It's
me
a
say
2.
this.
It's a
Let me
max
let
2.
me add this to Exhibit A of oh yeah, right. You know, on the medical side, the only thing I can say from it is the oh yeah, right of Kyle pulling all those hot chicks the whole movie pushes it up one more. And not just, I think they're in Seattle, and Adam lives in like a 2-bedroom house in Seattle, and he's like I think he works at like a radio station. So I'm going to say, oh yeah, right on that one.
Right.
All right. There's no
He's
way.
not like the main guy there
No
either.
roommates, just single by himself with a 2-bedroom house in Seattle. Oh yeah, right.
That's a yeah, right. Honestly, that's a bigger yeah, right than any of mine. So
yeah.
I honestly, medically, this movie was pretty good.
So we're going to start ranking these on story, and I'll just read these off for both of us. Matt, you feel free to kind of give in any insight, but on story, we're going to do it by story, rewatchability, emotional impact. Matt's going to do the science realism. I'm going to do the filmmaking craft. Story, Matt gave it a 6. I gave it a 7. Rewatchability, Matt gave it 10. I did a 7. I think it's a cancer movie. I don't know if it's something I'm going to be watching every day necessarily. I'm not going to have it on while I'm doing laundry. But a great movie. It definitely holds up. Emotional Impact's a 9. It's one of my cry movies. Matt has an 8. And science realism, Matt has at a 9. Filmmaking craft, I have at a 6. Not to say it's not a great movie, because it is. I know the list. I know it's coming up. It's hard to necessarily compare these from a pure filmmaking craft with, in my opinion, some of the best movies ever made. I think this fits above average on filmmaking standpoint, especially the budget they were working with. But not, it's not Academy Award winning. It's not best movies of all time, but definitely great. So we'll be ranking the cumulative on all of these. I guess we'll add it to a spreadsheet or something so that we can follow these as we go. All right. We're moving on. That's number 1 in the books. Number 2 coming up. We went from Pistachio Disguisey, right? Full 180 into crying anesthesia, Kyle picking up chicks and cancer.
Life and death.
A life and death and everything in between. We're going right back to 180. Maybe not quite to the level of Disguisey, but we're definitely turning it back around again. The movie for next week is Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn with George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino. Matt, assuming you haven't seen it, right? I think we verified these.
We have verified them. I have not seen it.
What do you know about it?
I know there are vampires in it.
Okay. All right. Spoiler alert. Dang, dude. The people haven't watched it yet, but that's okay. There's vampires.
Sorry. There's vampires in Dusk.
Got it.
There are.
But like Twilight has vampires in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're expecting, Edward Cullen to kind of come out.
I'm expecting Twilight.
Got it. You won't be disappointed. It's basically Twilight in Mexico and not at all any difference. Matt, any finishing thoughts here before we move on from Dusk Till Dawn?
All right, hold on. Are these thoughts about Dusk Till Dawn? Or
any thoughts?
Yeah, my last thought is I thought I didn't like Anna Kendrick until I watched this last movie.
You thought wrong.
Man, I was wrong.
Your thought was
now
wrong.
I think
it's
about
always
it,
been wrong.
I can't think of anything she's been in that hasn't been fantastic. So
I don't know if I would take it that far, but she's great. She's great in this.
Here's the thing: you know more movies than me.
That's true. So I know enough movies to know what she's not good in.
2 thumbs up, Anna Kendrick. You're doing your job real good. Okay?
I also thought for a second you were saying Anakin.
Anakin's. That's a complicated.
Anakin Rick. I love Anakin Rick. I thought his last name was Skywalker. This has been episode 2 movie list number 1, 50/50. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you want to watch with us next week, check out From Dusk Till Dawn. We'll see you then.
See ya.